In this ImageQuant TL version 10 tutorial video, we will be showing how to use the Analysis Toolbox module for performing a basic tissue section analysis. Specifically, we will be looking at how to adjust our image, either single channel or multiplex, defining our regions of interest using several available shapes, performing a basic background subtraction, generating intensity profiles, and finally exporting our data. For this tutorial video, we are using a multi-channel image of a kiwi that can be treated as a tissue section where we can define multiple regions of interest within our image. Once we have opened the Analysis Toolbox module and imported our image, this will be the screen we will see containing the following features. We have a 2D rendering showing any saturation in the image, which would be displayed as orange pixels. You can see in this image we do not have any saturation. We have a 3D rendering where we can rotate to any orientation, or we can also choose to enlarge to see in further detail. We also have our main image where we can view the multiple channels that are overlaid, displayed with different colors, as well as a data summary along the right side, which allows us to see some basic image parameters such as dimensions, bit depth, and also the available channels that we have within the image that was imported. Before beginning the analysis, we can prepare our image by choosing the channels that we want to display. We can do so using this pull down in the top center of our screen. You can see here that we have these 3 different channels that we can toggle on and off, so if you wanted to get rid of a channel, we could do so here, or we can add any channel that we choose to. We can also adjust the display for each channel using the display button up here. Once we have this open, we can adjust the contrast for each channel independently, as well as choose which color we'd like to use for each one of our channels. To adjust the display, we can adjust how much of the dynamic range we're physically looking at, so you can either make your image darker for that specific channel, or you can make it lighter. Keep in mind when we're doing this, we are not adjusting pixel intensities, but rather just how much of the dynamic range we're looking at the current moment. So this can be adjusted throughout the image analysis process. We can also choose which color that we'd like for each channel using this pull-down menu here. Each channel can be displayed using many of the options that are shown here, as well as some heat map functions or thresholds, which are all explained in further detail in the contrast tool tutorial video. Now that we have adjusted our image, we can begin the analysis by choosing the area step in the workflow. To aid in defining our regions of interest, we can choose to toggle on and off specific channels within the image. For example, if we wanted to take out the Site 3 channel to be able to define our regions of interest here, we could do so. In this case, I'm going to keep both channels on. We can also zoom into our image to help us define regions of interest as well, using the zoom image function here, and then creating a box around the region that we'd like to zoom into. We can then define regions of interest using the available shapes shown here. We have a rectangle, we have an ellipse, and we have a custom polygon. To use a rectangle, just simply choose that and create your rectangle within your image. For an ellipse, simply choose ellipse and define around a specific region within our image. And then finally, if you want to use a polygon, we can do so here by choose polygon, and then begin to define around a region just by clicking near the top of it. And we can start to click around the border of that image, and the region will be defined around it. Once you've completed, go ahead and click back where you started and click enter, and it will define that region of interest. You can also copy and paste any shape using the functions here along the right side of the image. For example, if you wanted to copy, you could also paste that within the image to have multiples of that exact same shape that you could apply anywhere else in the image. Now that we have defined these shapes, we also have the opportunity to customize any shape that we've already generated. For example, if we choose this rectangle over here and then go to the info button, we can modify it in many different ways, including changing the name. So for example, I'll call this one background. And then you can also choose the position and the color of that text as well. So I'll make this one white so it's easier to see. Followed by also modifying the actual border that we have around the outside of our image. So if we want to change this to a different color, as well as change the weight and the design of that outside border, we could do so here. Once you modify any of the shapes, we can use one of them to define our background, to do a background subtraction. So if we choose that background rectangle that we just made and go over here to the right to our background subtraction, you could choose which area that you'd like to use as your background subtraction. So we'll choose the one that we just created. When you do this, we're taking the average pixel intensity within this box and taking that away from all of our other defined shapes and all the pixels contained within each one of those shapes. Keep in mind we're doing this for each channel independently. So in our generated results down here at the bottom, we have a channel 1 background and a channel 2 background for the 2 channels within this image. Along with this, we also have many other parameters which are already been measured, and we can see them down here in the results table. To export all of these results, all you have to do is simply export the CSV file and then open it up in Excel, or you can simply copy and paste the results into Excel. Now that we have identified all of our regions of interest as well as done a background subtraction, we can move on to making any intensity profiles that you would like to. So I'll undo the zoom that I did and then move on to the next step in the workflow, which is profile. From here, you can see that we can generate 3 different types of lines. You can do a straight line, which is most commonly done. You can create a polyline, which has multiple angles. It's generated by the user when you generate the line. And then finally, we can do some sort of curve, and I'll show where that's appropriate in an image like this. First, if you want to create a straight line, what we can do is simply choose that option and then draw that line somewhere across our image, like so. And you can see we generate the intensity profile for both of our channels. So for example, we have our green channel here, as well as our purple channel over here. You can take these profiles and you can export them to Excel if you would like, to put them with the data that we already generated. So you can choose to copy that to clipboard and put it into your Excel file, or you can also scale your y-axis to any point within these intensity profiles. We can also create a polyline if you'd like to. So if you choose polyline here, you can start it wherever you'd like and create as many angles as you would like here as well. When you're done, just go ahead and select Enter, and it will create that line for you as well as the intensity profiles. And then finally, if you want to, you can also make a curve line, which in this case it would be appropriate to do around the border of our kiwi. So I'll go ahead and zoom into a specific region, and we'll be able to create a curve around the border of this kiwi. So what I'll do is I'll go ahead and select curve here, and then you can select to start at any point within our curve, and then create as many points as we need to help define that shape. When you're done, go ahead and select Enter, and we have an intensity profile for that given area.